I heard the sound of the garage door, then Jill's heels clicking through the laundry room and entering the kitchen where I was sitting drinking coffee. "Did you have a good day?" I asked cheerfully, glad to see her. "Best," she answered enthusiastically. "Look what I got." She threw the envelope on the table in front of me. Heavy paper, slight smell of cologne. In the corner was a coat of arms embossed in gold. It seemed a little pretentious to me. "This is from a man," I thought. "Your boyfriend?" "Oh, Matthew," she said, sitting down and lightly slapping my arm in approval. "Yes, it's from a man, and you'll like it." "And you want me to open it?" I asked, handing the envelope back to her. "Yes," she squealed in her chair with delight at the contents. "Okay, how about we open it after dinner? We can do it then." I started to get up. "Matt!" she exclaimed, throwing a dissatisfied look at me. I laughed and leaned down to kiss her. What a better welcome home." "Open the damn envelope," she demanded. I sat down again and ran my fingernail under the flap. Pulling out a heavy sheet of gilded paper, I read, "You are invited." Below was a photo of a beautiful tropical bay. The incredible blue hues of the water shone through. "It's beautiful," I muttered, "but what are we invited to? And who is inviting?" "Sir Peter," she answered. "You may remember him at our corporate Christmas party a couple of years ago. He is opening a new resort in Barbados. He invited the entire law firm for a vacation. The resort is holding a soft opening to iron out any issues. We can help by going on vacation. He offered it to all of us free for up to a month. We only pay for air tickets." The partners and I discussed this and decided that progress was slow. I don't have anything scheduled in court for next month. Everyone gets together for a couple of weeks. I want to spend the whole month there. Yes, I saw this guy at the party. He sat at the table with the big shots, and this was a year before Jill became a partner. We, or at least I, have never met him. He was of indeterminate age, late 40s, maybe early 50s, tall, broad-shouldered, and robust. He looked good, with a full set of hair. He was a renowned, world-class developer of hotels, resorts, and schools. As an architect, I have heard his name many times. "Have you ever met him?" I asked. "Only once about 6 months ago. Mort was escorting him out and introduced him when they ran into me in the hallway. We spoke politely for a couple of minutes before he left. That's all." "Okay, a month, that seems like a lot." "Come on, Matt. You and I have been working like hell for years. You and your architectural practice. I was trying to finish law school and become a partner. We've barely turned 30, and it's been a few years since we've had a vacation longer than a weekend. We deserve this rest. And let's face it, with airfare only, the price is undeniably attractive. I couldn't deny the appeal of the offer. Yet, I'm not sure I can take that much time. Several projects are close to completion. It is necessary to make choices regarding finishing. This requires my personal time. I'm not sure I can take 2 weeks in a row." Jill got a little angry. "For God's sake, try. I want to go, and I want my husband to be with me. I would hate spending a month alone in a romantic tropical location." She got up and went upstairs. Wow, okay, there's no doubt where she stands on this issue. I cursed this small piece of paper lying on the table. In 3 weeks, I could probably arrange it. Even if I could do without the necessary time with the project owners, I would most likely spend the next week or two with the phone to my ear. And I didn't think Jill would spend much time alone at a tropical resort. There will be too many lonely guys willing to help her pass the time, especially if I won't be there or I'll be too busy to participate. What bothered me even more was that Christmas party she mentioned. Jill went to the toilet. To get there, she had to walk past the head desk. Sir Peter noticed her, and his eyes followed her to the toilet and back. This was not uncommon. She was so beautiful. He leaned over and pointed her out to one of the senior executives, who shook his head, apparently telling him the bad news that she was married. After a while, he stood up and moved to the other side of the table, pretending to be talking to someone else. But he did it so that he could look past this man. His gaze was fixed on Jill. It bothered me a lot that night. If he knew she was married and still thought about her. That was a couple of years ago. A lifetime for someone who meets as many people as Peter does. Leaving her alone with a resort owner who showed interest in her was not what I wanted. I'll have to check his marital status. Not that that stopped many ladies' men. When I got up to finish cooking dinner, I wasn't in the best mood. While I was cooking, I was looking for information about Barbados and Peter Renton. Over dinner, I tried to convince her of an alternative plan. Listen, in 3 weeks I can take a vacation. We can go somewhere closer than the 10-hour flight to Barbados. She didn't accept it. I have a preliminary hearing 10 days after we return. I have to be prepared for this. I can't go when you want. Now is the only opportunity for months to come. Dead end, and my position did not improve the next day after talking with partners and evaluating 2 contractors. Multi-million-dollar projects are expensive to build and time is against us. Even a slight delay in opening can cost a project tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the building. Talking to suppliers helped a little. Supplies were plentiful and normal delivery delays were not an issue. In the end, I was able to find 8 days before I had to go back for a week. Then I might go for the last 2 weeks, give or take. The exact time was uncertain. I shuddered at the thought of all the hours I would spend on the plane. I'll be more tired after this vacation than when I started. When I brought this up to Jill that evening, she was unhappy, but accepted that it was the best I could do. Looks like we're going to Barbados. Tomorrow morning, it seems. She had already packed her bags and bought tickets, not even knowing if I could go. This irritated me greatly. She pressed hard. But then again, she is a lawyer and persistence is what makes her successful. The next problem arose when we arrived on the island. The taxi driver had never heard of the resort. He had to call the hotel to get directions. The resort was not yet on the maps. The check-in was interesting. The manager stood over the clerk, guiding her through the process. The staff were so new. Everything was in order with the decoration, so we headed to our room. Walking past the bar, restaurant, and beach, we were surprised to see an empty place. The restaurant seemed to be training employees, but that was all. We didn't see any other guests. We were shocked when the route indicated took us out of the hotel and through lush gardens. We walked past a large pool and hot tub, ending up at a beachfront cottage with a wide veranda overlooking the ocean. Cozy wicker furniture, sofas, armchairs, a small table, and individual chairs lined the deck. Damn, it was great. We were maybe 50 feet from the water's edge. The palm trees swayed in the light breeze, and the birds called to each other. The sound of waves rolling on the sand was heard, and the hot tropical sun after the dampness of Seattle. There was no disappointment inside. The cottage was large and spacious. Much of the front of the building was glazed. The view of the beach and bay was amazing. The cozy living room was equipped with sofas, armchairs, and a table where you could eat if you wanted. The hallway led to 2 bedrooms and a large bathroom. The master bedroom had a glass door leading to a private jacuzzi. The bathroom was absolutely amazing. Jill walked around the cottage, making loud noises of joy at her cool finds. I had to admit, it was very impressive. There was a knock on the door. I opened it and saw our host Peter, accompanied by a porter with our luggage. 2 workers were busy on the beach, setting up sun loungers. He extended his hand with a wide smile. "Hi, you must be Matt. I'm Peter Renton, the owner, and by the looks of it, someone is very happy with the accommodation." Jill ran out of the bedroom, bouncing on her toes with delight. "Peter, your resort is amazing. Thank you so much for all of this." "Jill, right? Thanks for the compliment. Glad you liked it. I admit, you caught me off guard. We weren't expecting anyone for a few days." Jill looked embarrassed, thinking she had made a mistake. "I thought of the invitation." No, sorry, I phrased it wrong. Yes, your invitation was immediate. I thought it would take time for everyone to arrange their affairs. You arrived immediately, and that's cool. It was my own expectations that turned out to be wrong. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. There are no other guests yet, and not expected for a few more days. If you're interested, I'd like to invite you to have dinner with me tonight. The staff is waiting to put your new skills to use. Shoes, Jill. I'm planning on having a band play there. For 3 people? I asked, amazed. Sounds fun, doesn't it? He smiled. But it will allow the staff to get practice and understand what will happen when there are more people here. I will try to find a partner to maintain balance. The confession about his companion confirmed his bachelor status. Before I could open my mouth, Jill intervened. It's our pleasure, Peter. He turned to me. When was the last time you went fishing, Matt? I moaned. Years have passed. That's what I thought. I was planning on going out on the boat tomorrow morning if you'd like to join. There's great fishing for trophy fish here. I want to check out the crew. Jill, I know fishing isn't popular with most women, but if you'd like to join, the crew serves a great lunch and as much wine as you can drink. We will stop at one of the small islands and land on the beach while we eat. You can swim, snorkel, explore the reefs, and enjoy the warm water. There is a large sunbathing area on the boat. You can work on your tan while enjoying the views. Sounds fun, she replied, to my surprise. I thought she would refuse. I haven't even agreed yet. Okay, meet me in the lobby at 6:30. I'll show you around, and then we'll go to dinner. Oh, the dress code is casual unless you want to dress up. Jill snorted disdainfully. We both dress up every day. I think I can give it up for one evening. Until 6:30 then. Closing the door behind him, I shook my head with sadness, realizing that we had fallen under the influence of the master. Throw out a few irresistible offers, dancing for Jill, fishing for me, and voila. It took our first couple of days. Or rather, Jill in his orbit, where I suspect he wanted her. I couldn't help but wonder if his people had done some research on us. It seemed like a lot, but with these super rich guys, you never know. I was curious to know how much they learned. His first 2 suggestions were right on target with our interests, although to be fair, both were pretty generic based on our genders. We ordered room service while we unpacked and were startled when there was a knock on the door 5 minutes later. Noah, the tall, handsome guy who delivered our food, laughed when I mentioned it. There are 3 waiters in training, and the kitchen is full of crooks trying to look busy. Everyone got something to do with your order, and the 3 of us were fighting to get it. It's nice to finally serve a guest, and I got the first one. He puffed out his chest proudly. Jill laughed and came closer. No wonder he won. Look at his muscles. He's working out. Take a picture of us, Matt. There was nothing left to do but take out the phone and take a photo. Jill pressed herself against his shoulder, wrapping his arm around her, and pointed finger number 1, and he did the same. The contrast between her whiteness and his blackness was striking. Jill's people are originally from the south of France, and she has a light olive skin tone. She tans easily in the hot sun, while I, with my northern European heritage and Seattle winters, remain white as a fish. The picture taken, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek. My wife was pure evil when she started flirting. However, I took a photo and sent a copy to Noah for his enjoyment. Let him brag about this moment to other kitchen staff. I knew that from now on our service would be legendary as others would try to beat it when he showed that photo. Jill and I are monogamous and have been since the day we met. However, like most couples, we discussed the possibilities and decided that if the circumstances were right, we might try something, but it had to be natural and mutual. Something we would fall into under certain circumstances. I could never have consented to her having a lover if she had not allowed me the same pleasure. The thought of someone trying to destroy our marriage for their own pleasure, as I suspected Peter did not bother me. Many of our friends openly participated in sexual activities. The notorious Hounds of Hades, predicted by those who feared adult literary sites, did not attack them. On the contrary, everyone became happier with each other. They began to communicate more openly, and jealousy became a thing of the past. Their ability to talk about their sexual needs and desires has increased significantly. Our research on this topic has shown happier marriages, a decrease in divorce rates, and the disappearance of the problem of infidelity. We were curious. It is a fact. I knew the initiative would come from Jill because she was a natural flirt. She loved it. She told me it gave her good endorphins, making her more desirable to me at the end of the evening. And I enthusiastically supported everything towards me. And she had an advantage because she was so beautiful that she attracted men like flowers attract bees. They all only dreamed of the opportunity to pollinate her. Noah saw this side of her personality. He proved my theory about improved service by insisting on setting the table on the veranda and serving us personally. There was enough food in the kitchen for 5. When Noah set the table, Jill insisted that he sit and eat with us. We had a great conversation with him, learning about local attractions and things to look out for. He told us a little about Peter, telling us that he was looking for the best employees for the hotel and paying high salaries to attract people. This was something the staff were grateful for. Their little piece of paradise had become a rather expensive place to live, and they needed increased salaries. He was fascinated by Jill, unsure where she was coming from, and wary of his teasing and flirting in return. I appreciated it. It was better than the open greed I had seen on Peter's face that long ago night. After lunch, I helped him collect the leftovers, despite his insistence that I shouldn't. Jill went to change into her swimsuit so we could go to the beach. Just as Noah was finishing, Jill returned to the veranda and struck a pose. Our twin size sounded like a pair of whales surfacing. I've seen skimpy bikinis, and I've seen other types of swimsuits. It was something in between. A swimsuit I've never seen before. I bet the tags were in the bathroom trash can. She was amazing in it. I've never seen her wear anything like that in public. Noah's eyes found mine, searching for an acceptable reaction before opening his mouth, which was already open. I don't think he knew about it. I winked at him, letting him know everything was okay. Jill, this swimsuit. He seemed lost for words, shaking his head in obvious disbelief. What? She enjoyed it. I rolled my eyes at this. Women. I was wondering when she plans to wear it. Will she really appear on the beach like this with her colleagues? This puzzled me. One wrong step, and she will show everything she has, including the devil himself, and the back of the swimsuit that goes through her butt. Noah was blinded. She conquered him. It was impossible to hide his delight. He wanted her in the worst possible way. Was this a sign that the time had come? The moment of silence between the three of us, when anything could have happened, stretched uncomfortably. I think it's time for me to get back to work, he finally suggested. Jill groaned as if in pain at the thought. Jill watched him until he disappeared around the corner, then turned to me. Hot, she explained to my raised eyebrow. I grabbed her hand and pulled her through the cottage to the bedroom. As one, we turned our heads towards each other and burst into uncontrollable laughter. It's never been like this before. Never. When we finally got the laughter under control, I asked, "Were you really going to sleep with him?" She turned to me and leaned on her hand. I always thought that if we ever allowed ourselves to do anything outside of marriage, it would happen the same way we met. A glance across the room and instant attraction. It was true. We met at a student party. Our eyes met across the room, and we never looked back. But we didn't come here for this purpose. I was shocked at how attracted I was to Noah. I would take him to bed without a second thought. But you and I need to discuss this. I'm also a little worried about a lover following me when my colleagues are here and you're gone. I have a fantasy that I want to admit. And Noah is perfect for this. Is it true? Although we talked a lot about sex, she didn't really mention fantasies. I was always afraid to admit it. Tell me, I insisted. She was silent for a while. Promise you won't get angry. Of course not. We must be able to talk to each other. Risky sex. You mean having sex in public for fear of getting caught? No, risky sex. With a lover, where it would be obvious that the child is not my husband's. There would be no doubt that the child was from a lover. This thought worried me and Noah. Wow, I didn't expect this. This showed me my wife in a new light. At least now there is no risk of pregnancy. Are you sure? She bit her lip as if she was hiding something, almost like a scared little girl who had done something wrong. I've seen this woman eat other lawyers in the courtroom. I have seen her stand before stern judges, telling them they were making mistakes in legal terms and demanding that they correct themselves. Unsure of yourself? This isn't about Jill. Speak. We talked about having a child. I stopped taking the pills a month ago without telling you. Then this trip came. I thought this was the perfect time to do it. That's why I wanted you to come. I was going to confess to you today. By the way, congratulations to the future dad. You have already taken the first step in the competition. One mystery solved. This incredibly sexy swimsuit. Yes, I thought it would keep you excited if I wore it in private. Do you have any more? I asked slyly. I loved her style. Perhaps, she suggested, smiling. But you showed it to Noah. I know. And you. But this is a powerful fantasy. And then there's Peter, I thought. Peter? She asked, confused. I know I'm attracted to him, like many men, but Peter. I told her what I had observed 2 Christmases ago, and how I thought that his current interference in our lives was actually about destroying us and taking her away. Crap, she rarely swore. You know that he is responsible for about 25% of the company's income. I'll have to walk a fine line around him and make sure I don't piss him off. Honey, we don't need your work. You can quit if he gets too pushy. But I like my job, the people I work with, and now I have an influence on the future of the company. I don't want to be forced to quit and start over. A little time with the baby, yes, but then I want to get back to work. Did it just get more complicated, or what? Yes, it got really complicated. We got up, put on sunscreen, and headed to the beach. To my surprise, Jill put her swimsuit back on. When I looked at her with a raised eyebrow, she shrugged. Nobody has arrived yet. You can keep your engine running. Settling under the hot sun, she set a timer on her phone. No more than 30 minutes on the first day for you. You burn out too easily. We had barely settled down under the hot sun when I heard the rustling of feet on the sand. I narrowed my eyes. Peter, big surprise. He was wearing only a Speedo. His hairy chest and muscular abs were on display, and his Speedo was barely holding him up. I cursed quietly. Of course, he was well built. Hello, you two. I thought I'd bring you my special tanning lotion. It is made to order and works better than the ones sold in stores. That was very kind of you, Peter. Thank you. To my surprise, Jill didn't try to cover herself. Peter stared at her. He sat down on the edge of Jill's lounge. Your swimsuit is amazing, Jill. I like it, although it may be borderline legal here in Barbados. There are no topless or nudist beaches. If you are caught topless, you will be asked to cover yourself. If you so desire, I have built that area below. There's a high fence there. No one is looking in, so you can strip to your heart's content without worrying. There's a pool to cool off. In the meantime, until other guests arrive, you can be topless here. The police do not come to our beach and will not bother you unless the guest complains. I sat up to get a better view. I need to go. I'll leave you two alone. Until the evening. Where are you going, Peter? Jill suddenly asked. I like to walk along the beach, look for shells, swim a little, and think. Would you like some company? His brief pause showed that he was wondering whether she meant me or both of us. I thought so too. He took a chance. Certainly. She turned to me and put on her beach shoes, winking at me. I'll be back in a while, Matt. As she approached, she leaned over and kissed me. Don't worry, she whispered. Peter extended his hand to her like a gentleman. Jill took his hand, and they moved, bumping into each other every now and then on the soft sand. Soon I heard Jill laughing at what Peter was telling her until their voices faded away. I watched them move along the beach until the hot air turned them into blinking black figures. They stopped. I couldn't make out what they were doing until they turned and ran into the water. Even from this distance, I heard Jill scream in shock as she plunged into the water. The initial games in the water continued for some time before they came ashore. Peter took Jill's hands and stood looking at her full length. I knew he was getting the full picture. This swimsuit will be transparent as soon as it gets wet, if it hides anything at all. Again, I wondered, what is she doing? This guy was a muscular, handsome man, rich as God. Am I being replaced? Peter held her hand and led her to the palm trees at the edge of the beach. The wind carried Jill's cheerful squeal to me and then died down. They disappeared behind the tree line. I waited for them to appear for several minutes. The timer on Jill's phone rang, making me jump. Time to get out of the sun. What was more alarming was that she left her phone behind. I couldn't believe it. This phone was her third hand. She never left him. I walked to the edge of the water, trying to find a better view of the beach. I hoped to see them sitting at the edge of the trees, just hiding from the hot sun, but in vain. There was no one there. I was tempted by the thought of going there, but it seemed like a weak, jealous act, and I felt my skin begin to tingle, as it does before a burn. I needed to get out of the sun. Reluctantly, I gathered our things and headed towards the cottage. I took a quick shower to remove the sunscreen, then stepped out onto the shaded veranda. Jill was still missing. Jill enjoyed her time with Peter more than she expected. There was an unexpected friendship between them. Walking along the beach, their hands intertwined, their bodies often colliding on the soft sand, they both began to sweat. Peter stopped. "We should take a dip and cool off," he suggested. As one, they turned and ran into the water. Warm as it was, the water felt icy from the heat of their bodies, and Jill cried out in shock as she sank into the water. They played in the water, splashing and submerging each other. Jill stopped trying to maintain her swimsuit and just let things happen. There was no point in trying to remain modest. When they finally emerged from the water, Peter took her hands and stood looking at her. She knew that the wet swimsuit had become completely transparent, but for some reason it didn't bother her. She examined him carefully herself. "Come on, I want to show you something," he said, pulling her towards the trees. "I don't like bushes," she said, resisting him pulling movement, laughing at his enthusiasm. Bushes can be funny," he admitted, "but that's not where we're going." The path led away from the beach. A wall with a gate appeared a few yards away from the path. Peter punched in the code, and the gate clicked open. "What kind of place is it?" Jill asked curiously. "This is my home. I have a penthouse in a hotel because it's easier to solve construction problems, but when I want privacy, I come here." He pulled her inside, down a cobblestone path surrounded by lush tropical gardens, and past a kidney-shaped swimming pool. This all led to a large patio with umbrellas, chairs, sofas, and a full outdoor kitchen and bar. The house behind it all was huge, with floor-to-ceiling windows on the front. "It's beautiful, Peter. Wait until you see the inside." He entered another code, and the door clicked open. Her breath caught inside her. The house could easily be featured in a magazine. She had never seen anything so beautiful. Peter dragged her from room to room, showing her everything. Finally, he realized that Jill was shaking and her teeth were chattering. "How rude I am! I forgot that you're wet and the air conditioning is on full blast. Come on, I'll fix it." He dragged her into the bedroom. Looking around, she realized that this was his bedroom. Huge room with a huge bed. A glass door led to a large veranda with furniture. Inside, one door led to a large bathroom, the other led to a dressing room. "I shouldn't be here, Peter," she said, her teeth chattering. "Nonsense," he said, walking into the dressing room and emerging with a cozy robe. "Take off your wet swimsuit and put this on. I'll get a towel. We'll sit on the veranda and get warm." He returned with a towel. Jill didn't want to take off her swimsuit, but she was cold. The wet fabric seemed to draw warmth from her body. "Take everything off before it freezes," he ordered. "Sorry, but I'm a naturist, and in my house I always go naked," he explained. He threw his robe over his arm. "Let's go outside. We'll warm up in the sun. I'll hang our swimsuits to dry." "Jill, I don't believe in these crazy religious ideas of monogamous marriage straight out of the Dark Ages. In my world, if it's good, let's do it. This is what nature is intended for, not the false idolatry that these idiots stand in the pulpits and profess every Sunday right before you read the news that they have been caught. The era and moralistic code dictates to us as we ourselves lead. I don't believe any of this. I like you, You like me, I can tell. Why can't we freely indulge our passions? Are you asking why? Matt and I have discussed the possibility of inviting others into our bed if the circumstances are right and we both like the person, man or woman. However, last month I took the pill and intended to get pregnant this holiday, and this, in other words, monogamy should only be with a person who supports and nurtures them. I did not know that. Our plan is that Matt will have a choice of who and when. Your plan offers him a deal already done. No choice. I can't do this to him. And yet I was damn close to doing just that. I waited for Jill on the porch for a while before I finally got angry. It's time to drink. I headed to the hotel and found an empty bar. To my surprise, Noah popped out of the door leading to the back and asked what I wanted. The ice-cold beer sounded great and was presented immediately. Is Jill napping? He asked. No, she went for a walk with Sir Peter. I'm sure my look told him what I was thinking about it. Before he could react, I heard the distinct sound of a pair of sandals slapping against the bar. Looking around, a gorgeous young woman of about 25 entered. Hi, Noah, she greeted him. Carly, good to see you. When did you get back? Early this morning. Carly, this is Matt. He and his wife are our first official guests. We shook hands. I assumed she was a hotel employee. Are you allowed to drink? She looked at me strangely. Certainly. Join me, please. And he waved to Noah to bring a set of drinks. We sat and chatted for a while. I found that I really liked her. Young, cheerful, and well-built physically and mentally. Finally, she asked, where does your wife go shopping? My mood instantly worsened. She went for a walk with the innkeeper. I didn't miss the look that she and Noah exchanged. What? I asked. How long ago? She asked casually. Too long ago. She took a deep breath, took her phone out of her purse, and pressed a button. I heard a man's voice. What the hell are you doing? Our first guests, and you're doing such bullshit. A stream of words came from the phone, which she interrupted. Tell me you didn't do it. The word no sounded very clear. Honest Scout. I heard the answer, honest scouting. She listened a little longer and then turned off the phone. When he cheated on my mother and she divorced him, I didn't believe a word he said. He promised me he would never lie to me again, and Honest Scout became his way of letting me know it was the absolute truth. Years have passed, and so far he has never broken this vow. My father has certain views on marriage and monogamy that I do not agree with. Your wife returned about half an hour ago and is probably already in your room. Is he your father? She nodded. Her breathtaking blue eyes seemed to moisten a little. Please don't judge me by his actions. I saw that she was upset. Of course, I assured her. Are you going to see her? I thought about it. No, she's packed her bags today. She's left me to my own devices, so I don't see any point in rushing over to her place. I think I'll stay here and have a couple more drinks. Would you like some company? We smiled at each other. Sounds amazing. A little sauce for gander. She seemed to understand me. If it's good for her, let's make it good for you. Let's go. She grabbed my hand and pulled me into a cozy booth for two where lovers could sit side by side. Over the next hour, I learned that she was 5 years younger than my 30. Well-educated, witty, and aware of current events. We spoke like two old friends. The conversation went so easily between us. She smelled great. I don't know what perfume she wore, but it was exquisite. I told her about our date with her father tonight and about our fishing trip tomorrow. She promised to be there too, just in case. As time passed, I wanted to kiss her lovely lips more and more. Finally, after refreshing ourselves with a few drinks, we said our goodbyes, and I headed off to sort things out with the witch. She was sitting on the veranda, her eyes fixed on some distant point on the sea. I sat down opposite her and looked at her for a while. She felt uncomfortable, and her left hand was shaking, which always happened when she was upset. It's time to find out everything. I didn't stand during the ceremony. Did you sleep with him? Jill flinched when she heard these words from Matt's lips. Still, she couldn't blame him. How could she have gone this far? She found herself naked next to him. Her self-justification worked with all her might. He earned this right. But she began to doubt this assumption. What exactly did he do to earn this right? Seduce her? Plot against her marriage? She didn't think so. On the other hand, the man who looked after her, cooked, cleaned, supported her in illness, laughed and cried with her, shared dreams of children. This man really loved her. He had every right to have a serious relationship with her, given his devotion and care for her. This man had the right, and that person was Matt, not Peter. It was close, she couldn't deny. But she didn't. She climbed off the lounge chair, grabbed her swimsuit, and rushed to the back gate, ignoring Peter's calls to return. She looked at Matt's face. I won't lie to you, Matt. It was very close. This man is an experienced lover with seductive skills far superior to mine. I was like clay in his hands. I went to him to tell him that I didn't want to be with him. I liked being friends, but that's all. I didn't want to spend this vacation fending off his attempts. He went through all my defenses and almost did it, as you put it, but I was able to break free at the last moment and get out of there. Are you going to share the details? I'd rather not do that, Matt. It won't make our conversation any better. Go ahead, prosecutor. How would you, as a district attorney or a judge, feel if a defendant refused to tell the details of his crime? I doubt you would accept this position, thinking it would improve the conversation. I hope our love for each other is strong enough for you to believe me when I say I didn't sleep with him. Oh, I believe you didn't sleep with him. Another source confirmed that, so I already knew. What? Who? How? We don't share details, remember. I woke up. All these emotions were added to the alcohol, and my head was spinning. I'll go take a nap. Matt! I watched as Matt walked away from me, ignoring my pleas. At the door, he turned. By the way, before you blame him for all this, I saw a married woman who didn't mind. Then she asked if he wanted to accompany her on a walk. You can't blame him if he thought you gave him the green light. Fear washed over me like an icy wave. Matt was right. God help me, I did do it. I was not an innocent victim. I gave the man a clear signal and then backed down when he accepted it. Actually, check it out. I gave him other clear signals as we lay together. To make matters worse, I acted completely submissive around him, which did not reflect the usually aggressive lawyer in me. Why? Matt warned me about him. Why did I act like a stupid teenage girl, crazy about some boy? Lost in thought, I thought about Peter. Handsome, with a magnificent muscular body. As a lover, I was sure this would be an epic experience. Was I attracted to him and pretending I wasn't? Understanding what motivated me has now become super important. Immediately, I disdained this thought. It was stupid, and I was fooling myself. I would never have gotten this far if I hadn't been attracted to him. The question was how much I was attracted and what I expected. Or was there something more? Peter wanted to sleep with me. With the horror returning, I realized that I still didn't really care about the idea. Even knowing that he was not the one who was ready for marriage, and there was no future with him, I wanted him. Part of me stayed in that house and regretted leaving. Matt and I need to pack our things and leave. Get out of here before things get out of control. But I had to face a simple fact. I didn't want to leave. I would still meet him in Seattle. Leaving now won't help. Looking at my watch, I knew it was time to start getting ready if Matt still wanted to go to dinner with Peter. Sitting next to my sleeping husband, I winced at the smell of beer emanating from his breath. He opened his eyes. If you still want to go to dinner with Peter, we need to start getting ready. But I'll understand if you want to cancel. Oh no, there's no way I'm missing this. Do you think you can forgive me? I asked anxiously. Forgive you? You started this by showing the guy I had concerns about that you were okay with it. You refused to share details after admitting that you almost slept with him. Most tellingly, I never heard the word sorry. In your words, how can I forgive you for a man I don't think you're done with yet? God, Matt was supposed to be a lawyer. He just nailed me as a witness place. If my chin wasn't on the floor, it should have been there. The word sorry did not pass either my lips or my thoughts. I've been busy finding ways to make this possible. As I was getting ready, Matt poked his head into the bedroom. There was a message on the phone from Peter that we should skip the tour and meet at the bar for a drink before dinner. Are you ready? I shook my head. If there's a dance, I can't dance in sandals or sneakers, and high heels don't go well with shorts and a t-shirt. I'll wear my little black dress. I need 20 minutes. God, I hope he doesn't think I'm dressing for Peter. He seemed to accept it. 20 minutes later, I was ready after running a brush through my hair and touching up my lips. The slight olive undertone of my skin meant I didn't need a lot of makeup. We entered the bar. Peter was sitting at a table with a bottle of wine and 3 glasses on it. As we sat down, Noah appeared at Matt's elbow and placed a cold beer in front of him. Peter raised an eyebrow, looking at me questioningly, and I nodded. Just as he finished pouring, his phone rang. He looked at him and answered. Hey, honey, I'm with people. Darling, he has a girlfriend, and he looks after me. I felt anger rising inside. As I was about to tell him what I was thinking, I saw him frown and hand the phone to Matt. She wants to talk to you, Matt, he announced, looking puzzled. My voice died before I could say anything. Matt, what the hell? Matt picked up the phone and listened. Of course, I'll be right there. He turned off the phone and returned it back. Standing up, he announced, Carly needs help buttoning up her dress. We'll be right back. Carly, button up your dress. Double me down. What's going on here? Stunned, I watched Matt walk into the lobby and get into the elevator. Who the hell is Carly, and why is Matt going to her room to button up her dress? Peter looked amused. Carly is my daughter. She's angry about what you and I did this afternoon, and in her less than subtle way, she's letting me know that. Apparently Matt invited her, and she's planning on joining us. What does she know? I squealed, worried. We just didn't sleep. That's all she asked. It became clear who Matt's other source was. In a way, I should have been grateful. She confirmed my story. Upstairs, there were 2 penthouses. Peter lived in one, Carly in the other, and left the door ajar for me. I knocked and announced myself. Here came a voice from the corridor. Carly stood in front of the full-length mirror, checking out her dress. She was gorgeous, her eyes were captivating. The dress fit her like a second skin. On a scale of 1 to 10, she was a clear 11. You look amazing, I complimented her. Can you zip it up? I stood behind her, enjoying the smell of her perfume and her appearance. I was in heaven. You're a nice guy, Matt, she said. We kissed. Finally, I was able to say, we need to go down. They are waiting. Not to mention, if I stay another minute, we'll end up in that temptingly close bed. She let out a quiet groan of dissatisfaction, but nodded. When Carly was ready, we headed to the elevator. I wasn't happy watching Matt disappear into the elevator. I'm sure it showed on my face. So we're alone again, Peter noted. This guy was obsessed with one thought. My life was crumbling before my eyes, and all he had on his mind was sex. Not cool, Peter. Not cool? How about it then? We'll go on my yacht and spend 6 months cruising the Caribbean. Or we can go to the airport and fly anywhere in the world. We can go to my private island and spend as long as we want there. Only you and me. God, this guy was incorrigible. His cheeky offer made me smile. He was like a little boy with a new toy, full of desire to play with her. Unfortunately, his proposed toy did not agree with this. So what, Peter? Are you going to leave me in some backwater hole when you get tired or we have a fight? Just another prostitute for your money. He looked stunned. No, Jill, we'll take this time to get to know each other. If we get along well, and I think we will, I want us to get married. The wine I was swallowing went down the wrong throat, and I splashed it onto the white tablecloth, coughing. Noah was suddenly there with a towel and patted me on the back to calm me down. Then he put the table in order. Peter and I looked at each other while Noah cleaned up. As soon as he left, we were able to talk again. Where did this come from? I saw you a couple of years ago at your company's Christmas party. I thought you were the most charming woman I've seen in years. And this from a man who always has women throwing themselves at him. I asked one of my partners about you, but he said you were married and, as far as he knew, happy. I hired a private investigator to ask a few questions, and he confirmed that everything he could find out showed that you and Matt were happy. But then you came here earlier, and to my surprise, the happy wife gave me a sign while she was sunbathing and then offered to take a walk with me. I took this as a sign that all was not well. What happened between us next was confirmed. By the way, I called your law firm and told them we had a little problem and rescheduled the rest of our guests for another week. It will be 8 or 9 days before anyone you know arrives. You and I have all this time to talk and find out if there is something between us. Or we can leave here, as I mentioned. I'm fine either way. One more thing, I decided to retire and have fun while my body still can. My company hired a CEO to take my place, and I am now free. Free to do all those things I put off all these years while building the business. I want so that you become a part of my life, to share it with you. Peter, I whispered, shocked, almost speechless from his confession. This is straight from the heart, Jill, he admitted. Straight from the heart. At that moment, the elevator doors opened, and I saw Matt hugging the blonde. My sudden intake of breath must have alerted Peter because he turned and looked. Well, that's something father can never unsee, he said calmly. With a giggle, she pulled him out of the elevator. They almost skipped across the lobby, holding hands. Matt helped her sit up and then came and sat next to me. Watching them, I realized that they could not take their eyes off each other. I don't think Peter or I were even in the room. They were so engrossed in each other. I realized then that I had ruined my marriage. As I fell into Peter's arms, a young girl found the door to my marriage open, walked in and captured my husband's heart. Caribbean cruise, you say? Peter smiled. Like her father, she grew up in naturism and nudity was a constant choice. I loved it. Carly threw the newspaper on the table in front of me. Then she sat down on my lap. You think this would make Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving awkward for Persephone? We will not name our child Persephone. Children will tease her. I knew she was joking, but our unborn daughter was already a developing bulge in her belly. I skimmed an article from a gossip column. Crap, they did it. We got married. Since our divorce, Peter and Jill have been in the gossip columns for the last couple of years, popping up all over the place and traveling the world. You realize she's now your ex and your mother-in-law. She's my stepmother, my half-sibling's mother, and stepmother to Persephone. What the hell are we going to call her? We will not name our child Persephone. Is your half-brother or sister? What did I miss? Didn't you notice her bulging belly? Daddy did it. She's pregnant. I frowned. I thought he couldn't. I thought so too. I looked at the accompanying photographs. In the crowd behind the happy couple was a beaming Noah with his hand on Jill's shoulder. No, she couldn't. I remember how much this fantasy worried her. Probably not a half-sibling, I told Carly. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.